Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kegel Show. My name is Don Agent, and I'll be your host for this episode. It is with great pleasure that I am able to introduce Thomas Watson from McKendree University in Illinois. Thomas, thanks for coming out.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Appreciate you taking some time out of trimming my bushes at the house to come down for this interview. You always help my wife and I and a lot of us out when you're down back in town to see your parents and your family. I really brought you here to talk about kind of your journey, through bowling, as well as academically and some of your thoughts going forward. But let's start out where you grew up. I mean, you grew up in Highlands County, which is where I live. Your mom and dad live there still. There's not a lot there. I mean, we got orange trees, we got cows, and you got sports. I mean, there's not a whole lot to pick from. What made you gravitate to bowling? What got you hooked on this?
I grew up playing baseball like most of the kids in the county, and I enjoyed it. I still thoroughly enjoy watching ball. But when I was around 11 or 12 years old, one of my buddies had a birthday party at the bowling center, and I loved it, everything about it, and I really wanted to go back. And every time we'd pass, I would beg my mom and say, dude, can we go bowling? And she'd say, no, that's expensive. And then one day she asked me if I wanted to join a league, and I thought, okay, open bowling's expensive, but I guess we're going to join a league now because that's not, sure. So we joined the league, and she asked me after the end of it, it was just a summer league, 3 months long. She said, did you enjoy that? I said, I loved that. And I really want to do the long term, the 36-week winter and spring league. And she said, okay, well, we'll do that. And we did it. I loved it and been in it ever since.
We had a pretty impressive junior program down there, too, as well. For
yeah, we did.
Years. A lot of kids went through there. And you also went on to go bowl for the Blue Streaks for Sebring as well, for the high school.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, as we start talking about attending the college you are right now, you got a couple of buddies that I know that are out there as well. So, I mean, you can shout out to them. McKendree University, Illinois, you've got some incredible coaching staff up there. Obviously, you've got a wonderful husband and wife tag team with Shannon and Brian. You got Dennis, the head coach for the men's as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of take us down the journey of what some of that training involves, and what are some of the primary things that coaching staff focuses on with your men and women's team.
I'll kind of break down the anatomy of the program first. So you have Brian, we call him the director of bowling, is actually his title. And he oversees both programs, both from a athletic standpoint, and oversees the financial aspects of it and everything like that. And then Shannon is the head coach of the women, and Dennis is the head coach of the men. So a lot of the things that we focus on are lane play, physical game, things that every college program would focus on. But Dennis has these games that he likes to play in practice that really bring out a competitive edge and really harp in on our shot-making abilities, our abilities to perform under pressure, and our abilities to really slow our mind down and just take it down to what the game actually is, which is just execution.
And Shannon, I'll tell you what, obviously she's a heck of a coach, but a heck of a player. She just won team trials, so congratulations.
Congrats,
to Shannon O'Keefe on that one. Fantastic job. Excuse me. What are some of your specific goals going forward in bowling? Like, what's on your wish list if you could have it?
I watched a lot of team trials this year, and I watched everybody that was there from my team just flourish, and I thought, man, next year I've got another year to work on my game, and it's really headed in a direction that I want right now that I'm really happy with. Next year I want to go to team trials, and obviously the goal is to make Team USA.
Sure.
But it would be my first time bowling it, and I'd be happy with just performing well, knowing that I didn't leave that many pins out there, that I didn't make that many huge mental mistakes, and just having an overall good performance. That's a
tough format out there. I mean, I was talking to JJ. He had just recently got back, and asked him how he had bowled, and he says, really only had one bad day, but in that format, I mean, you can't afford to have it, and it's, how many pens are we leaving behind? So That's a very good goal to have. How about any international travel goals, or?
I haven't really thought of any at all. I've got I've got 2 semesters left at McKendree right now. I'm just focused on finishing those 2, getting my degree, and then seeing where that can take me.
And let's go into that. Obviously I've known you since you've been quite young, and I'm very proud and impressed with some of your academic pursuits. Why don't you tell the audience kind of what you are looking at doing? I mean, what are you focusing on primarily at McKendree?
Well, I'm a math major, and a lot of people look at it and say, well, what's that good for? And that's really a good analogy is showing somebody the Grand Canyon and them saying, what's that good for? Because math is like the root behind every science ever. And it's so useful. We'll discover more things in the pure math side of it that will be useful in the applied math side. But some things that I really like are applications in biology. You can use it to study microbiology from a microorganism standpoint and study culture growth and stuff like that, or even larger scale population growth of, like, say, deer in a reservation or something like that. And biologists will hire a mathematician to do these calculations for them because they're not easy. I also like architecture and engineering, and I have an occupational certificate in drafting and design. And I've worked as an architectural draftsman in the past too, so kind of looking at either of those two directions mainly, and the Navy's nuclear engineering program is never a bad option either.
As much as I really tried to keep him in this industry as a head mechanic prospect, I had to come to the conclusion that you had farther sights and dreams ahead of you, and I'm very glad you pursued them, though I would have loved to had you on this side with us. And you never know, you know, we do a lot of math at Kegel, so when you get done, we'll talk and figure it out. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years, you think?
Oh. Probably heavily involved in bowling because I don't want to leave the sport. You know, I love bowling. I love just working around people that are bowling. And like, I've worked at Kegel a couple times. I worked over the summer last year. I was just building torches, but I was still around people that I really enjoy being around. Obviously, I'd probably like to have a family, some pets. I've always wanted a snake, so that'd be pretty neat. But it's a
lot to think
doozy
about.
Of a question, man.
It's a lot to think about. I figured you'd be ready for that one. Anyone you'd like to thank specifically for helping get where you're at now?
Obviously, I've got to start with my family, you know, especially my parents. My dad, out of high school, he joined the Navy, and he left the Navy after 4 years after the Vietnam War, and he was a mail carrier for 40 years, retired from the post office. And he's had jobs as a car salesman, as a cook supervisor at the local jail, because he's one of these people that just can't sit still. He has to be doing something, yeah. And then mom's an artist, so I've got the side from dad that is, I don't like sitting still, I always want to be doing something. And I've got the side from mom that is creativity and that lets me see things in a little bit of a different light. So the combination of those two has really helped a lot.
Excellent, and that's, you know, I keep getting more and more of this when I interview, you know, the younger generation, especially in our sport, that it always goes back to good parenting, you know, and good support. So, you know, I got to tell you, one of the coolest Christmas gifts I ever got, which I believe Erin took off the table for me, but I'm going to ask her to grab that real quick. You made this for me many, many years ago.
Yes, I did.
And you gave this to me for Christmas. And for the audience, you know, what I'm going to tell you is if any of you figure out how he did this.
You can't Google it.
And you can't Google it, don't cheat. If you figure out how he did this and you contact us with a way, I'm going to send you a free shirt. But what this is basically about a 2.5-inch piece of metal rod inside of this wood that only has a 1-inch slot on each side. This has not been cut, re-glued, or anything else, and there are no holes in the ends to push that rod through. So if you can figure out how you got 2.5 inches into that 1-inch slot and into the center of that, we'll get you a free shirt. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's about a wrap for the day. I can't thank you enough for coming out, kiddo. We'll catch you a little bit later. Keep those wrenches turned and have a wonderful day.